Welcome to the deep dive. You've sent us some interesting material, it looks like details about the proposed updates to your Primera health insurance plan.
That's right, for CEA and MSEA members specifically.
Exactly. So let's get right into it. We're looking at these excerpts from the FY26 CEA MSEA Primera Health Insurance Plan document, the PDF. And our mission here really is to cut through some of the, the jargon,
Definitely.
highlight the changes that seem most important for you, and hopefully leave you feeling a bit clearer about what's coming down the pike.
Make you feel informed, ready for those upcoming decisions. It's interesting how the proposed changes, the costs, and even the data on how people are using the plans now.
Yeah.
It all fits together.
It really does paint a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into those key updates. First thing that caught my eye was a change to the high deductible health plan, the HDHP.
Right.
Looks like starting July 1st, 2025, so not immediate, but next year, the deductible is going up.
$600 and $650 for individuals.
And $3,300 for families. Now, just a quick refresher for anyone maybe less familiar. The deductible, that's basically the amount you pay out of pocket.
Exactly, for healthcare services before your insurance really starts paying its share.
So this increase, well, it means you'll pay a bit more upfront before that main coverage kicks in.
And it's worth noting, these new amounts, the $1,650 and $3,300, they keep the plan in line with what the IRS considers a high-deductible health plan.
Right, which is important for HSA eligibility and things like that.
Precisely. So for those in the HDHP, this change matters most if you need care beyond just routine checkups before you hit that new higher number.
Okay. Moving on then. There's a new program mentioned through Teladoc Health.
Yes, Teladoc, focused on managing specific chronic conditions.
It sounds pretty interesting. It's targeted, so Premera identifies the members who qualify.
And it's virtual, app-based mostly. It includes coaching, which is, a nice support feature.
But here's the part that really jumped out. They provide connected devices like blood pressure cuffs, glucose test strips.
At no cost to the member.
At no cost. That feels like a really significant benefit for the people who can use this program.
It absolutely is. And if you think bigger picture, this kind of proactive remote management for chronic conditions, it can genuinely lead to better health outcomes.
Yeah, keeps people healthier.
And potentially helps manage overall healthcare costs in the long run. Removing the cost barrier for those devices, that's a big deal.
Definitely removes an obstacle. Okay, next up. Supplemental and diagnostic breast exams.
Ah, yes. This is good news.
Seems like it. Covered with no cost sharing. So no deductible, no copay under both plans, Mimic and HDHP.
That's correct. And this change is linked to legislation, Senate Bill 134, that passed in 2024.
Okay. And crucially, they confirmed this coverage won't affect HSA eligibility for folks in the HDHP.
Yes, that's vital. Making sure access to necessary screenings doesn't mess with the tax advantages of having that HDHP-HSA combo.
Very important clarification there. All right. One more key update to cover here involves EviCore.
EviCore, right. And utilization management.
Specifically for outpatient rehab services. So, starting now, it seems, prior authorization is going to be required.
For physical therapy, occupational therapy, and massage.
PT, OT, and massage. Okay. And prior authorization, just to be clear, that means you need approval before you get the service, right? From the insurance company.
Exactly. You or your provider needs to get that green light beforehand.
What are the potential implications there?
Well, for people who regularly use these therapies, it adds an administrative step. It could mean, potential delays in accessing care while waiting for that approval.
Something to be aware of.
It's a tool insurance uses to manage costs, but yeah, it can impact timely access. Might be worth a chat with your doctor if you rely on PT, OT, or massage regularly.
Good point. Okay, so those are the main sort of proposed changes to the plan structures themselves.
But the document also shared some data, which I find really insightful.
Yeah, context is always helpful. It shows how the current plans were used back in 2024.
Like enrollment numbers.
Right, the breakdown. Overall, it was about 42% of members in the HDHP.
And 58% in the Mimic plan. A bit more popular than Mimic.
Slightly, yeah. And the splits were a little different when you look just at MSEA members versus CEA members, but in that same ballpark.
And then alongside enrollment, there's this 2024 deductible and OOP met data.
Okay, what does that tell us? OP is out-of-pocket maximum rate.
Correct. The absolute most you'd pay in a year for covered services. This data shows how many people, or families actually, hit their deductible and how many hit that maximum out-of-pocket limit.
So it gives a sense of how many people are actually facing those kind of higher cost-sharing thresholds.
Exactly. It shows percentages for the HDHP deductible being met, the MIMIC deductible met, and the family OOP max being met.
Is there anything tricky about reading that data?
Well, there's a note. If a category had fewer than 10 people, they just assigned it a value of 0. So for really small groups hitting those limits, the number might look like 0, even if it wasn't exactly 0, just very low.
Ah, okay. Good to know. And then they show HSA account balances too. Relevant for the HDHP folks.
Very relevant. It breaks down how many individuals fall into different balance ranges, like $0 to $999, $1,000 at $2,999, and so on.
What's the overall split look like?
It seems about 43% of members had lower balances, so under $3,000 in their HSA.
And the other 57% had $3,000 or more.
Right, which gives you an idea of the financial cushion people might have.
Yeah, because with that deductible going up.
Exactly. If you're in that 43% with under $3K saved, that $650 individual deductible, well, it's going to feel more significant.
Oh, that'll make a bigger dent immediately if you need care.
Whereas those with higher balances, say $5,000 plus, they have more buffer to absorb those initial costs. It's a crucial insight when you think about that deductible increase.
Definitely. Okay, now let's shift to the financials, the current loss ratios.
Always an important number in insurance.
They show FY25 and then year-to-date for FY26. Remind us, what's a loss ratio again?
It's basically the percentage of the premiums collected that the insurance company paid back out in claims. So if the ratio is 100%, they paid out exactly what they took in for claims for that group.
Okay, and what stands out here?
Well, the FY26 year-to-date numbers are pretty striking. For the MIMIC plan, the loss ratio is listed as 120.01%.
Whoa, 120%. So for every dollar they collected in premiums?
They paid out about $1.20 in claims. That's not sustainable long-term for an insurance plan.
No kidding. And the HDHP?
Much lower, 70.41%, so paying out about 70 cents for every dollar collected.
That's a big difference. And combined?
Combined, it's 102.58%, still slightly over 100%.
So what does that usually signal, especially that high MIMIC number?
It strongly suggests that costs for the MIMIC plan are significantly exceeding the premiums being charged. This kind of data is almost always a major factor when insurers decide on future premiums and plan designs.
So future premium hikes for MIMIC seem likely based on this?
It would be the standard response, yes,
Yeah.
to bring that ratio back closer to or below 100%.
Okay, that makes sense, seeing those numbers. Which leads us nicely into the premium comparison section.
Right, where they start talking dollars and cents for employees.
First, there's a chart showing the district contribution versus the employee contribution. For both plans, MIMIC and HDHP, comparing FY25 to the proposed FY26.
Yeah, it lays out those projected amounts. Pretty straightforward comparison there.
But then Premera provided a more detailed look, specifically at the employee premium for MIMIC, showing some potential alternatives.
Yes, this is where it gets into potential choices you might face. They show the estimated premium per pay period for the existing MIMIC plan, the one with the $500 individual, $1,500 family deductible.
Okay, the baseline.
Then they present two alternative MIMIC plans. Option 1 has a higher individual deductible, $750, and a higher out-of-pocket max, $4,000.
But what about the premium?
The estimated premium for that option is lower than the current plan, so you potentially save money on each paycheck.
The classic trade-off. Lower premium, but more exposure if you need a lot of care.
Precisely. Your upfront cost, if you get sick or injured, is higher because of that higher deductible and OOP max.
And the second alternative?
That one proposes a $1,000 individual deductible and a $3,000 individual out-of-pocket max. Again, they show the estimated premium and the potential savings or additional costs compared to the current plan.
And they show the family numbers for these alternatives, too.
Yes, the corresponding family deductibles and OP maximums are listed, along with the estimated premium impact for family coverage on those alternative plans.
So they even summarize the estimated annual savings or cost and the financial risk level.
Yeah, they try to quantify it.
Yeah.
How much you might save per year on premiums versus the higher potential out-of-pocket risk you're taking on with those higher deductible OP options.
It really puts the choice right there in front of you, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It highlights that fundamental decision. Are you more comfortable paying a higher premium each month for the security of lower deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums?
Or do you prefer to save on the monthly premium, knowing you might have to pay more, potentially significantly more, if you have a bad health year?
That's the crux of it. You need to consider your typical healthcare usage, your family's health situation, and frankly, your comfort level with financial risk.
Makes sense. So, based on all this information swirling around, what are the immediate next steps for CEA and MSEA members? What should they be looking out for?
Well, the document indicates the immediate next step is for members to evaluate these plan alternatives, really look at them closely.
And then?
And then vote. There will be a vote on these proposals.
Okay, a vote is coming. Any key dates mentioned?
Yes. There's a deadline to sign a Memorandum of Agreement, an MOA, which is April 30th, 2025.
April 30th, got it.
And then the actual open enrollment period when you make your final plan selection for the year.
When you sign up.
Right, that's scheduled for May 19th through May 30th, 2025.
May 19th to May 30th. Okay, so evaluate, vote, MOA deadline, end of April, open enrollment, end of May.
That seems to be the timeline laid out.
All right, so there you have it. We've taken a deep dive into these proposed FY26 Primera health insurance updates for CEA and MSEA members based directly on the documents you shared with us.
Hopefully breaking it down like this has brought some clarity to what are, some pretty significant changes being proposed.
It's definitely a lot to digest. But understanding these details, the deductible changes, the new programs like Teladoc, the prior auth requirement, the cost implications, it's just so crucial.
Absolutely. Especially with that vote coming up and then the open enrollment window right after. These are big decisions.
They really are. They impact your health and your wallet directly.
And maybe a final thought to leave folks with as they mull all this over. Really consider that balance we talked about.
The premium versus the potential out-of-pocket cost.
Exactly. What's the right equilibrium for you? Is it paying more predictably each month or taking a bit more risk for lower monthly premiums?
Right.
And also, how might those new tools like the Teladoc Chronic Care Support factor into your thinking? Does that add value for your situation?
Good questions to ponder. It's really about looking at your own circumstances, your health needs, your budget, and trying to make the most informed choice possible when the time comes.
Precisely. Take the time, look closely at the details when they're fully available, and make the choice that feels right for you and your family.